Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Texas Progressive. Current date is August 1st, 2020, Saturday. And we're going to be talking about a few topics in this video. This is going to be a new sort of format for the video, for our videos from now on. We might still do videos on particular topics or particular news subjects that are in depth and extended as we've been doing, but I'm going to try to fit more news topics into one video and release videos more frequently to try to get more people to watch these things and get more information in a shorter amount of time. So our first topic for today is suburbs and how Donald Trump has been championing suburbs for the past few weeks. And he actually tweeted on July 15th, and I've talked about this tweet before. He said Joe Biden and the radical left want to abolish police, abolish ICE, abolish bail, abolish suburbs, abolish the Second Amendment, and abolish the American way of life. No one will be safe in Joe Biden's America. So Joe Biden doesn't want to do any of those things, and like I said, I'm not going to spend too much time in particular on the tweet, but he did say abolish suburbs, which was very odd. And this was the beginning. Well, actually, the previous day he had a press conference of a clip that, and he said something, and I'll show you that in the the first clip we talk about here today, in which he sort of elaborated what he was talking about. But people don't watch the press conferences usually, so when he said abolish suburbs, a lot of people were caught off guard by that and didn't know what he meant. But this is what Donald Trump meant. This was in a press conference at the Rose Garden on the previous day before tweeting this on July 14th.
Abolish in the suburbs. You're going to abolish the suburbs with this. Enforce Obama Biden's radical AFFH. That's the AFFH regulation that threatens to strip localities of federal affordable housing funds unless they change their zoning laws to fit the federal government's demands. So what you have, I've been watching this for years in Westchester, coming from New York. They want low-income housing built in a neighborhood. Well, I'm ending that rule. I'm taking it out. So I spoke with Ben Carson the other day. We're going to be taking it out. I've watched that whole thing go, and now they want to make it twice as bad in the suburbs. Mothers aren't happy about that. Fathers aren't happy about that. They worked hard to buy a house, and now they're going to watch the housing values drop like a rock, and that has happened. Drop like a rock. So we're not going to do that. We're going to do the exact opposite.
And here's another clip in which he spoke about this in a rally he had in Texas over the week, I think it was.
To happen. And by the way, I just ended the rule on suburbs. You know, the suburbs, people fight all of their lives to get into the suburbs and have a beautiful home. There will be no more low-income housing forced into the suburbs. I abandoned and took away and just rescinded the rule. It's been going on for years. I've seen conflict for years. It's been hell for suburbia. We rescinded the rule 3 days ago. So enjoy your life, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy your life.
First of all, imagine clapping for that. Like that, I couldn't ever in my life hear a president or some sort of elected official say, "Hey, you know what? We're gonna have less low-income housing in people's neighborhoods, and that's gonna be a good thing for society." Woo! Yeah, thank you so much, Donald Trump. This is so great. I love you. Like, okay, so okay, before we get into the implications, the social implications, what is he talking about exactly? What rule is he kind of elaborated better in the first clip about what exactly he was talking about. Basically, it's a rule saying that if some sort of municipality or local government receives federal money for low-income housing, then that municipality must study racial biases in housing or racial discrimination in housing and then take steps to address that. So this is obviously a racial dog whistle signaling to people in white suburban middle class neighborhoods, hey, there will no longer be poor black people moving into your neighborhoods thanks to me. Thanks to your great leader who protects a particular sect of the population, right? And obviously, he's not going to say it like that. Obviously, it's not so obvious to the common observer that that's what he's communicating, but this is what we call a dog whistle. He's saying one thing, he's saying no more low-income housing in suburban neighborhoods, right? I mean, that's like real proper way of saying it, the real PC way of saying it. This is essentially language policing that the right always claims that the left wants to do. But he's saying no more low income. What he really means to say is no more poor black people or poor colored people in your white nice neighborhoods. And obviously the crowd is cheering because they understand that's what that means. They understand the signaling. They know that that's what Donald Trump is trying to communicate, and that he will uh, be good for middle class Americans and work hard and fight for the middle class. And usually that's a racial thing as well. Not saying you can't be part of the middle class if you're, when you really try to hold people to these specific terms, or like if I say middle class, or if I'm talking about a Republican politician addressing the middle class, I know that they're typically saying white middle class, but that wouldn't be so obvious from the way they're saying it, and they wouldn't admit that that's how they mean it. But we, as observers of these people, knowing who they're appealing to, what their policy goals are, who their base is, we can assume, you know, and actually, okay, so I was watching the Majority Report, and they had Matt Binder on, and he was saying that this is like the dog whistle of dog whistles. I think Jamie even said that this is just a straight up whistle. This isn't even a dog whistle. It's not even trying to hide it almost. It's really obvious if you understand Trump's base, if you understand the appeals he tries to make, uh, and know the racialized things he said in the past, that this is very obviously a dog whistle. So that happened over the past few weeks. That's something we should be aware of, and, things we've come to expect from Donald Trump. So the next thing we're going to talk about is fascism. And I was actually going to make an entire dedicated episode about what is fascism, what isn't fascism, how is Donald Trump fascistic. But as I've said in the past, I don't think we get much utility out of that, because I could call him a fascist, I could call him whatever I want to. But it doesn't matter really, because we can just still look at what his positions are, his policy prescriptions are, and tell you why they're wrong. So we can call it whatever we want. But I'm now forced to talk about this with you because Republicans have intentionally been misrepresenting what fascism is for their own political purposes. So before we get right into it, let's define fascism. According to Wikipedia, fascism is a form of far-right authoritarian ultranationalism characterized by dictatorial power, forcible suppression of opposition, as well as strong regimentation of society and of the economy, which came to prominence in early 20th century Europe. So, far right, authoritarian ultranationalism, dictatorial power, forcible suppression of opposition, strong regimentation of society and of the economy. These aren't things that necessarily tell you what the ideology of a person is, other than the far right part. It tells you that fascism is far right. But these other things are characteristics of what fascism is. So people don't usually identify as fascists, but they use fascistic tactics and may have fascistic goals, although no one necessarily says I'm a fascist. So it's more of a characteristic type of thing than an actual ideology. But it does fall under far right. So to suggest that fascism is somehow left, as people do in these clips, is either completely intentionally misrepresenting, or they just have no idea. And honestly, it's hard to tell sometimes with Republicans. But let's take a look at these, and then we'll talk about it. The first clip we have here is from Donald Trump's 4th of July speech, which is, knowing now the definition of fascism that I've just told you, and go back and listen to what I said. Watch Donald Trump's whole speech. Watch it at 2 times speed. It's only about 40 minutes, I think, or like an hour or something. Watch it at 2 times speed. And it is like almost textbook fascism, ultranationalism, dictatorial power, forcible suppression of opposition. And it's almost textbook what fascism is. And in his speech, he calls the left. Well, I'll play this. I'll play the clip.
In our schools, our newsrooms, even our corporate boardrooms, there is a new far left fascism that demands absolute allegiance. If you do not speak its language, perform its rituals, recite its mantras, and follow its commandments.
Now, this is obviously BS, just meant to incite just meant to scare people into thinking, just using fascism is such a dirty word. Nobody likes to characterize themselves as fascist, and when you characterize the opposition as fascist to an audience that just has no idea what fascism is or isn't, it sounds bad. It invokes fear in people. So this is obviously misrepresentation. I've already told you why it's impossible for something to be far left fascist, and again, only doing it to incite fear in his base. Um, and this sort of prompted me to want to make this video, but then again, I changed my mind, like I said. But then more people kept on saying things. Here's Dan Crenshaw in an interview talking about fascism.
Seconds left, but Antifa, do they exist? Because there's some Democrats don't think they exist. That
It's
the
amazing,
Republicans
isn't it?
are bringing it up because it's a distraction.
Well, we'll have security hearings with the FBI and the Homeland Security Committee, and I will hear multiple Democrats question whether Antifa even exists. I will hear that in the halls of Congress. It truly is unbelievable. And I say, guys, if you're not sure if they exist, there's hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of videos of them. They wear a uniform, basically. They have a symbol. Yes, they exist. Yes, they exist. They're, you can call them anarcho-fascist, communist, whatever they are. In any case, they're basically a domestic terrorist organizations. Okay, they're destroying property. They're hurting people. And they fundamentally want a revolution inside the United States of America. And we can't sugarcoat this anymore.
Now that was, if you didn't get any sort of like, if that didn't make you laugh, then you need to keep watching this show, okay? Because that clip actually went viral because Dan Crenshaw, who is my representative here in the second district of Texas, said anarcho-communist fascism, which, I mean, I don't even like. I have never heard of such a thing in my life. I've heard of anarcho-communism, which is the same thing as just regular communism, if you know what communism is. And I've heard of fascism, but anarcho what? And so he used that also to describe Antifa. Antifa, which stands for, so let me get this straight. Antifa, which stands for anti-fascists, is anarcho-communist fascists. They are fascist. Like, what is even? I don't even know the type of mental gymnastics one has to do to arrive to this sort of. And maybe, okay, maybe in the moment he was just spitballing anarcho-com. But you're a politician. Okay, you have a responsibility to say the correct things and to have informed opinions about things. And if you say something like anarcho-communist fascism, it even it just, okay, I'm not gonna, it just shows that you know absolutely nothing about political ideology, about political theory, and that you're willing to say anything just to please the president and to please your base. This, I think this was on Fox News. Actually, I say I think because I just got the MP3 file, but I did see the video, and it was Fox News, if I remember correctly. And it's like the people watching this, they have no idea. They don't know. They don't know. They don't even know what communism is. They don't know what fascism is. They don't know what the word anarcho means when you put it in front of something. Okay, they might know that, right? Because if you know what an anarchist is, which I think most people do anyway, then okay, you might know what, and you might be able to figure out what anarcho as a prefix means. But I don't think I need to say much about this. This is just straight up disinformation. This is just playing into your base that you know is stupid. Either, so there's two possibilities, right? Either Crenshaw knows that his base is stupid and they'll just believe anything he'll say, or he is stupid and he doesn't know these things. Maybe stupid's too strong of a word, but you know what I'm saying. It's the ignorant or malicious. Which one is it? And it's starting to lean towards ignorant, because at first maybe they were malicious, they being Republican politicians, in that they were doing what Trump said and they were appealing to the Trumpist base because they knew that that was the strongest, most vocal base because of, racist tendencies and ultranationalism. So in the beginning, they might have been appealing to that, like Ted Cruz did and Rand Paul did, appealing to Trumpists, even though that they were both against Trump. So in the beginning it was malicious, but I think now they're just totally bathing inside of the Kool-Aid that they really believe this stuff that they're saying because, hey, shoot, when I say things that sound scary, but they're not really true, my base loves me for it and the left hates me for it, so that must be a good thing, right? So they just continue with this sort of nonsense and misinformation. All right, last clip. So if you didn't watch the testimony, which okay, nobody listening to this watched the testimony for Bill Barr, in which he appeared in front of or the House Judiciary Committee. Uh, Senator, or no, I'm sorry, Representative Ken Buck, during his questioning, referenced far left fascism again in his remarks to Bill Barr. So let's take a listen to that.
In every form. Unfortunately, the American left has been infected with the same totalitarian desire to remove firearms and silence opposing views as part of a campaign to achieve its political ends. We've seen this scenario play out in every major Democrat-run city in America. Progressive leaders push to disarm law-abiding Americans to further their influence while watching as crime rates soar. We even saw failed presidential and Senate candidate Beto O'Rourke proudly tell Americans, hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15 and your AK-47. Now the American left is actively cheering as its fascist militia Antifa rages in the street.
Fascist militia Antifa rages in the street. Fascist militia anti-fascists raising it or raging raising or raging. I guess it doesn't matter because this whole thing is just complete, is free association. It's just nonsense. It's total. It's just nonsense. Okay, but before I move on from this subject, I know a lot of people are going to call me out on this and saying, "Well, Juan, are you not condoning Antifa? Are you saying that they're not violent? Are you in support of Antifa? We need to recognize that these people, regardless of whether we call them fascists or whatever, they're bad for society, blah, blah, blah." Okay, I know that Dan Crenshaw said that some members of Congress have claimed that Antifa doesn't exist. And okay, maybe some people out there who are really, really delusional will try to tell you that Antifa is not a real thing. But hey, Antifa is a real thing. But here's the thing. I'm part of Antifa, right? My neighbor is part of Antifa. You listening to this could be part of Antifa because Antifa doesn't exist. It's not a real organization. It's that anyone can be Antifa. I just buy the patch on Etsy and I put it on myself and I go out and all of a sudden I'm Antifa. Antifa, all it means is you are anti-fascist. That's it. If you are a person who is anti-fascist, congratulations, you are now part of the terrorist organization Antifa. And it's actually really convenient for Republicans that this thing doesn't exist on an official capacity because then you can label people as Antifa and say, and once you label Antifa as a terrorist organization, as Trump has been trying to do, then you could say that person is Antifa. Pick them up off the street, drag them into an unmarked van, and then deny them their rights because if they are a terrorist, then they no longer get the same rights afforded to normal citizens. So this is total dog whistle politics. This is how I tweeted about this over the past few days. Republicans only win by lying. If they tell the truth about topics, then they're going to contradict their own ideologies because a lot of the things that they try to push, a lot of the fear mongering they try to instill in people is just based off lies and misinformation. He's talking about the same people who are Antifa want to take your guns, although there have been people who they have labeled as Antifa who are out there open carrying. And plus to say, I mean, wow. I don't want to spend too much time dwelling on exactly the things they said because it's ridiculous, it's nonsense, it's just straight up misinformation. I think we all understand that. I've driven that point really deep in. But you need to understand that Republicans are weaponizing this and they're not sincere about it. And Republicans will always compromise in their beliefs. Like I said, I mentioned Rand Paul and Ted Cruz earlier, who are very much anti Donald Trump during the primary and even a little bit after he had won the nomination. But eventually, they all just bend the knee. They all just repeat the same talking points because they don't care. They'll compromise on their values because they're part of the political class. Not that Democrats are free of this, of being part of lying and misrepresenting facts to maintain themselves in power, but it's very obvious that one side does this more than the other, and one side will tell you one thing one day about a politician being bad or tell the truth, and then the next day tell you that politician's actually great and they love them, and they will repeat their talking points because Republicans don't care. Republicans are always going to compromise on their values. All right, so that brings us to probably the best story that we have here today, which is okay. This maybe is not the most informative story in the world, but it's definitely the most hilarious in this segment. Or in this show, in today's show. If you didn't see over the week, Donald Trump Jr. tweeted out a video of some quack doctor. You know what? Let me just play it for you because I have the clip. I totally forgot.
40 people and it didn't work. I'm a true testimony. So I came here to Washington, D.C. to tell America, nobody needs to get sick. This virus has a cure. It is called hydroxychloroquine, zinc, and Zithromax. I know people want to talk about mask. Hello? You don't need mask. There is a cure. I know they don't want to open schools. No, you don't need people to be locked down. There is prevention and there is a cure.
So that's not the whole clip. The whole clip is like 5 minutes or something. I'm not going to subject you to that because that would be insane. But I showed you the relevant part, and it was actually really hard to find the whole clip. I had to really search for it because it's been deleted everywhere. It's been deleted on Twitter. It's been deleted on YouTube. It's been deleted on Facebook. A lot of big tech companies are trying to suppress this video because she's lying. She's making this up, and she's not a credible doctor in the first place. So Donald Trump Jr. over the week retweeted this video. Or no, he tweeted the video, I believe. And then Donald Trump Sr. retweeted the video. And Donald Trump Jr. actually got a ban on his account for like 12 hours or something from tweeting because the video got taken down, obviously, because that is not true. That hydroxychloroquine is not a cure for COVID. Neither are any of the other things she said. And I showed that those I think it was like 30 seconds because that pretty much perfectly illustrates the point she's trying to make and of the point of her whole video. So this doctor's name is Dr. Stella Emanuel. She was part of the White Coat Summit, which, like she said, was in D.C. And they were apparently there invited or set up or organized by the Tea Party Patriots. And if you don't remember the Tea Party Patriots, we've talked about them before. They actually appeared, two Tea Party Patriot representatives appeared at the Reopening Schools Conference, which if you don't remember the Tea Party, it was back in 2010 or 2011 as a response to Obama's presidency, which was a far-right libertarian movement of "Don't tread on me, folks," and that type of crowd. So now these days they pretty much function as a mouthpiece for Trump. So of course they got a doctor to come out there and tell the public a lie that hydroxychloroquine, the drug that Trump has been pushing as some sort of miracle cure from the very beginning, although we don't have any solid data telling us it's good. We have some studies telling us it works. We have even more studies telling us it doesn't work. But the point is that there is no conclusion on the efficacy of hydroxychloroquine. This is a decision that should be left up between doctors and patients based on specific circumstances, and certainly no credible administration or department is going to go out there and say hydroxychloroquine is a cure in the way that this doctor said. And you might think, well, she's just exaggerating. You are a doctor. You are a person in a position of power and authority. You should be very responsible. And she's very clear. She said the word cure multiple times. I made sure to include in the clip that I showed how she repeated cure, and I think she said treatment as well. She's lying, okay, because there's just no evidence to back this up. So Donald Trump was actually Donald Trump was actually asked about this in a recent press conference on July 28th, and let me just play that for you. Didn't go well.
We're going to take care of the people.
The woman that you said was a great doctor in that video that you retweeted last night said that masks don't work and there is a cure for COVID-19, both of which health experts say is not true. She's also made videos saying that doctors make medicine using DNA from aliens, and that they're trying to create a vaccine to make you immune from becoming religious.
Well, maybe it's the same, maybe it's not, but I can tell you this. She was on air along with many other doctors. They were big fans of hydroxychloroquine, and I thought she was very impressive in the sense that from where she came, I don't know which country she comes from, but she said that she's had tremendous success with hundreds of different patients. And I thought her voice was an important voice, but I know nothing about her.
Masks don't work.
Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Last week you said
Go ahead.
masks. Last week, well, real quick. Last
Okay,
week you said
thank you very
masks
much, everybody.
misinterpreted.
As you can hear there at the end, Donald Trump actually ended that press conference because he was so upset by the I like that. I mean, I've seen this a million times in making this, but it doesn't. It's just so funny to see him be such a big baby and not be held accountable. Donald Trump, when he's just laying in bed at 11 p.m. at night retweeting video, that's not the time that he retweeted. I'm not sure when he did, but when he's basically in his leisure just casually scrolling Twitter and retweeting videos, he doesn't want to be held accountable for the things he says. That's his time to just be himself and say the thing and, push the narrative that he wants to push. He doesn't want to be held accountable. He doesn't want to answer these questions. He said this this doctor cured hundreds of patients. She didn't even say that. I think she said a few dozen patients she's prescribed. He said he doesn't know which country she's from. She said she's a doctor from Houston. She's an American doctor. I think she got her degree in Nigeria. Her medical license, or not her medical license, but her medical degree in Nigeria. But she is a American doctor. And he said, and she was there among other doctors. Yeah, among other doctors who were brought there by the Tea Party patriots, which I'm sure if you explained that to Trump, he probably wouldn't care. It would probably make him believe it more. But it's so funny to see him not want to be held accountable for the things he does on social media. And Donald Trump, he retweeted it. And that got taken down, but it's not like Donald Trump got any penalties for that. Also, PragerU retweeted it, or tweeted it, actually. If you're not familiar with PragerU, they are a right-wing, I don't even know what you would call them. Just a right-wing purveyor of disinformation is how I would characterize them. No, they call themselves a university, which isn't a real accredited university, but they release videos on topics such as economics, race, gender, and they are completely wrong in almost everything they say. I will go through PragerU videos if anybody wants me to do that, who might watch them. But essentially, PragerU is a purveyor of disinformation. So, as the reporter said in the clip I just showed you, what the reporter was saying was all true. The doctor did say that doctors use alien DNA to create medicine to cure people. She said having sex with demons and witches causes infertility in men. It causes miscarriages, and it causes cysts in women's uteruses or uteri or ovaries, endometriosis, if you're familiar with that. This doctor said this. She also said the people running the government are not human, and she implied immediately afterwards that they were reptilians, although she didn't say that it was reptilian. She just said they're not human, and then she said she's seen half human reptiles. Not making the exact connection, but pretty much saying that. And she's also saying that people are developing a vaccine to stop people from being religious, that they've somehow found an area in the brain that causes people to be religious, and that they're trying to make some sort of vaccine that shuts that part of your brain off and then give that vaccine to people. And she's also one of these people who believes that the government is trying to implant chips. Stella Emanuel, the doctor who said that hydroxychloroquine is a cure in Capitol Hill, I believe she was when she said this, also said all of these other things. So this is obviously not a credible person, and it's hilarious that Trump got himself caught up in this. And it's even more it's also hilarious. I was going to say it's hilarious that Trump also wants to completely escape accountability from this. But it is funny, it is funny to look at. It's funny to see him be a baby and run off stage with his tail tucked between his legs. But it's also kind of not funny. We've sort of become desensitized to these things of Trump saying ridiculous things or retweeting ridiculous things or him being a big baby. We kind of see it and we just laugh and we brush it off and we move on. But this would have been rightfully so, this would have been completely unacceptable with any other president. Trump has normalized these sorts of things over the past few years of just casually tweeting out things that are incorrect, and also casually just escaping responsibility from everything else he's done. This is something that Trump has normalized. But and I say it's funny, but it really shouldn't be funny. This is scary. What's happening to the United States is scary that we are allowing this to happen, because I mean Donald Trump does have so much power in the position he's in, and he's escaped so many criminal allegations or criminal indictments, I guess, that he might not be able to avoid after he leaves office. So, I mean, it's funny, but it's also very concerning at the same time. So, somebody floated this idea. I forgot exactly who it was, but somebody floated this idea, and it got me thinking, what if they tweeted this on purpose, right? What if Donald Trump Jr. and PragerU tweeted these things on purpose, knowing that this doctor was not credible, knowing that hydroxychloroquine is not a cure for coronavirus, but they tweeted these things on purpose because they knew that the social media companies would then try to suppress this video as much as possible. And then they would point at this and say, look, look, see, they are trying to suppress our speech. They are trying to silence conservatives online. Because so a lot of social media companies in this era, like Twitter and YouTube, have been and Facebook have had very strict guidelines on what people are allowed to say about coronavirus, and especially those in and figures of authority. They've made this very clear over the past few weeks. They have banned accounts. They have suppressed, right, to use one of their words, they being the right, they have suppressed tweets and deleted tweets and posts and videos that intentionally spread disinformation, such as this. And that it is a possibility that these conservatives knew that they were going to get this video taken. I mean, I don't know how you tweet this and you don't think that it's going to get taken down, but there's a possibility that they knew that this was going to be taken down. And then they're going to point at it and say, look, see, they're trying to suppress our free speech. Guys, they only win by lying. They only win by misrepresenting the facts. They can't win any other way. This is their strategy. And it works. It works for a large amount of people. It really does. So, last thing I'm going to talk about is, so like I said earlier, Donald Trump has been pushing hydroxychloroquine for even since the beginning of this whole coronavirus crisis, when there were some studies, very small, not randomized studies, like pretty much not credible studies at all, that were saying that hydroxychloroquine could be a possible cure. Okay, and I'm saying these studies are not credible in the way, okay, like, I mean, we can look at them, we can examine them and determine whether the outcomes they find were accurate and the conclusions that they come from them are fair. But they're not, they don't tell us if anything is a cure or not. They said these are possible treatments. And Trump, from the very beginning, has been latching on to hydroxychloroquine and said, this is the cure. This is what doctors need to give to their patients. And for a long time, I sort of just thought, me and many others thought, that he was just saying that because he wanted there to be a cure. He wanted there to already be something. He didn't want to have to wait. I mean, the shortest amount of time a vaccine has ever been developed for something is 4 years. So he wasn't going to wait that long. So it would be better to say, hey, look, there's already a cure for this, and just latch onto that and say, this is the cure. No one talk to me, right? And essentially is what he's wanted to do, and he's been latching onto hydroxychloroquine and mentioning it and retweeting doctors who are uncredible or not credible to that have been promoting this. And I thought it was literally just because he wanted there to be a cure and he wanted to pretend like things are fine, which is consistent with things that we know he's done before. But actually recently, not too recently, but it was revealed that Donald Trump has a personal stake in hydroxychloroquine. It's insignificant. I'll just preface it with that. So before like we start thinking, oh my God, but it is sort of insignificant to his total amount of wealth, but it factors into our analysis of why Trump is doing this. So Sanofi is I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, is a French company that makes a brand name version of hydroxychloroquine called Plaquenil. And so bear with me here, okay? That is a company who makes hydroxychloroquine, Sanofi. Dodge and Cox is a mutual fund that Trump invests in, to which the largest holder of the Dodge and Cox mutual fund is Sanofi, the company that makes hydroxychloroquine. And Trump has an investment in that Dodge and Cox mutual fund. So Forbes has estimated that his stake in that mutual fund is a little less than $3,000, and so and Trump is a billionaire, right? So at 3,000, it's less than a cent of what, like, if I take my net worth or how much I make in a year and all my assets and things, it's like less than a cent of my money in comparison. And you listening to this, it doesn't matter if you're making $200,000 a year right now, okay? It's like it's less than a cent of what you have in total, and so $3,000 in this, sort of insignificant, but something I think we should be factoring into our analysis in this, and something that I think is notable enough to bring up, and definitely something that, I mean, is this a violation of emoluments? Whether it is or isn't, it doesn't matter, because nobody's gonna. I mean, he's not gonna be impeached over this, and nobody's gonna hold him accountable. But it might be, and it's something we just need to keep in mind. Okay, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. We covered a lot of things. There's going to be another episode tomorrow about much more important things. This is more about culture and social issues, I would say. This episode tomorrow is going to be more substantive, although, again, we're going to touch on culture and social issues because, I mean, that's the name of the game in politics these days, right? It's about optics. It's about looking good. It's about, is it looking like we're doing the right thing? But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.